Ryan and I co-host the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Our mission is to help everyone replace their W-2 income that wants to with wholesaling real estate or the BRRRR strategy. So I was really, really intrigued by this. I believed I could do it. I believe anyone can do it.
Yeah.
But after reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I was like, I need to buy a cash flowing rental property, and I get enough of these, I can be financially free. Meaning I don't need to have my job. I could quit my job if I wanted to. We all know what that means. Today I've got 19 properties and they're worth $4 million. I have about $2 million equity position, and I didn't go broke buying rental properties because I found good off-market deals, created value fixing them up, and kept recycling that initial down payment. So found those off-market like many people do in wholesaling. About 70% of DealMachine users are wholesaling. And so that's the app, as you know, I created that's like data and marketing to find off-market properties. And then Ryan's been a top customer since he started in 2019.
Yep.
And did like 73 deals the first year?
First year, yeah. 2019, we started a 30-day wholesaling challenge. So went from a sales job, selling internet, going into wholesaling, knowing absolutely nothing about wholesale, just jumping straight into it. And then going on and getting 73 deals done in the first year. And then it became just obsessive compulsive. And we've done over 450 total transactions over the 4 years. And then in the same stretch of time, we scaled a portfolio of rental properties up to 63. Used the BRRRR strategy for the majority of those.
Yep. And Paola has a great story I'm excited to get into. We've had her partner, Philip, on twice now. So you remember Philip.
Yep.
And they're with the Austin franchise of Keegley. And you might do some investing outside of that as well, right? But Keegley is like, their model is all about dispositions. They will help wholesalers sell their deals. You guys focus on helping them sell the deals, right? So it's like common that new beginners will find a deal. They are like, oh, I don't know where to sell it. And you guys like help them with that and partner on them with that deal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Rewind a little bit though and tell me, how did you get into this business? How did you get your first deal?
So I got into this business through a TikTok video. I found out about real estate through Brent Daniels.
Yeah.
And I got obsessed. And I was like, this is so easy. I can do it. I believed on it. He was really great about, telling me what wholesaling was. And I was like, this is just so easy. I can do it. So I quit my job to do that in 2020.
Wow. You didn't even have a deal yet.
I didn't.
Just quit.
No. And that was the last time I had TikTok. So I deleted TikTok after that to focus on wholesaling. So I tried to get my first deal for like 8 months. I was doing Uber Eats. So I was driving and delivering food and using DealMachine to find a deal. I was using a dialer. And I think maybe I made like 10K through Uber Eats. Okay. But a lot of people don't know that. Like I was trying to do it for like 7 or 8 months. So it was a struggle.
You made 10K in 7 months?
Yeah. Just delivering Uber Eats and driving for dollars.
Yeah, but through 7 months. Like that was a lot of work for 10K.
Kind of like a year, yeah.
Yeah.
It was not a lot of money. But I was using that money to pay for like the dialer and Propelio, PropStream, all of that, right? So I did not get a first deal on my own, but I partnered up with someone that was in the industry that knew what they were doing, and I started working for them. And in a span of 3 months, I became an expert. I learned everything that I couldn't on my own for 7 months. So my first deal, is that what you asked, right? Mm-hmm. My first deal wasn't like outrageous, like $70,000 deal or anything. It was maybe like $5,000 or something like that. But what was rewarding was like how quickly I got it done after partnering up with somebody that knew what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you were spinning your wheels in the 7 months leading up to that? Like didn't know what was going wrong or if anything was going wrong? What was your thoughts? Like, why is this taking so long? And did you feel like you were about to give up?
At DealMachine, we believe you don't need 8 different tools to run one real estate investing business. Last November, we unveiled unlimited skip tracing. So instead of going to a third app, you could actually get all the skip tracing you need, unlimited contact info included in your subscription without incremental fees. Then last July, we also integrated a dialer into your existing DealMachine subscription, so you don't have to go to one of those apps. This November, we're having another DealMachine Unveiled event to share the latest innovations for your real estate investing business. Sign up at DealMachine.com/unveiled to join the live event and see what we're doing for you to help clear your roadblocks going into 2025. That's DealMachine.com/unveiled.
I was really scared of picking up the phone. It was so heavy for me. And I was just
emotionally heavy.
Yeah.
You're like,
it was so hard to pick up the phone. And I think a lot of wholesalers, when they're starting, they get really stuck with all the other details, like contracts, what to say, attorneys and all of that. Like you don't have to worry about that. But that's what was keeping me away from the important thing, that was just to get someone that was motivated.
Motivated seller and get the house.
Yeah.
And you're right. Most people spend so much time in the process of like, well, I'm building my buyer's list. You're not doing any of the things that really matter to get the deal. You were studying Brent Daniels. What was he telling you? Like, was there a moment that you're like, is he saying stuff that was leading you down that path of not getting that deal, or where were you? Like, what was causing the 7 months of were you sending direct mail? Was there phone calls coming in? Were you going on appointments? What was happening in that time?
It was just calling. So getting leads through DealMachine, calling sellers. And I wasn't in direct contact with Brent Daniels. It was just like watching his content. Yeah. And the reason why I kept going is he kept saying, I know wholesalers get stuck on this. Right. Don't get stuck on the paralysis analysis. Like, he had the symptoms that we go through when we think we're failing. Yeah. So I would refocus on that. And a lot of the things that he mentioned too was like partner up with people that know, like, anything can change from like one connection. Yep. And it was that one connection that got me where I'm at today.
Who was it?
It was Alec Hawthorne.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was an acquisition agent for Keighley at the time. And he was super helpful. He was like, hey, come work with us, and I think you'll be a great disposition agent. And yeah.
Got it. So that means selling the deal. How did you guys go about selling the deal? And was that a paid job per hour, or did you get paid per deal that you sold?
Per deal. Yeah. So my job was, and it's still, I do focus on a lot of the dispo of our business now. Talking to buyers every day, understanding their business, what they do, their numbers, and just kind of like reverse wholesaling. You kind of go and look for what they're asking you to look for. So they tell me what they want. I tell my agent, my wholesalers, this is the criteria that I'm looking for, so I can have a buyer lined up for the deals. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you started. Where did you meet this person? Where did you meet Alec? We've had Alec on as well. So.
Yeah. It was a 400 or 1,000 people Zoom call that Pace Morby was hosting. And I said, who's in Austin? And he was the only person that responded.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I actually texted him multiple times, like, hey, I'm struggling. He's like, no, keep going. So he would be like my support system at the time, one of the very few wholesalers that were helping me.
Mm-hmm. And did you meet up in person at any events in Austin with him?
Yeah, we met to call at the WeWork one day. So we called a couple of sellers with him and other people that were trying to do the same thing.
Got it.
Yeah.
But what would you say you struggled with the most, even after the 7 months has come? You got your first deal and you're continuing to move forward. If somebody was to come up to you and say, what should I do? What is the one thing that you struggle with the most that I should be prepared for? What would you tell them?
I would say pick one thing and do that, because you get easily impatient about not seeing results through one way. And we tend to just go and look for something. Yeah. So I did that. I was like, okay, wholesalers, agents, direct mail, this is not working.
Cold call.
Yeah, so I would
Text.
say, hey, pick the one thing that you feel comfortable with doing that matches your lifestyle and what you can do right now, and do it for, 6 months
Yeah.
straight,
Stick to
consistent.
it.
Yeah, stick to
Don't
it.
get off track at all. Just stay on it.
What
Yeah.
was your job that you quit to do wholesaling?
I was an assistant manager for a paint store, so I used to sell paint.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that obviously wasn't something you loved because you quit it immediately from one TikTok video.
I know. Well,
What didn't you like about that?
we were considered essential workers, and it was COVID times, so I did not.
paint.
Yeah, yeah. So I was working really hard, and it was a really good company, really good benefits. Not my passion, clearly, but it was also I see it as a venue that got me where I'm at, because my clients were flippers,
Yeah.
painters, property managers, and I saw their lifestyle from the other side of the counter.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And I like that.
Like, what did you see? Were they coming in wearing a Rolex, buying paint?
No, not at all. Just, I've had conversations with them, and nice cars, like flexibility, being able to go here, being able to go
They're
there.
in the paint store at like 10 a.m. or
right.
6
2,
a.m.
yeah.
We were working early.
Oh, okay. They
Yeah.
get to work early. Nice.
Yeah, but yeah, I had no idea what real estate was at the time. I thought it was something that only the rich people could pursue.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no idea what wholesaling was. It was just that one video that.
It's not that
Like-
only the rich people can pursue it. It's just that the people that truly pursue it can become really wealthy. That's the big thing with
Yeah.
real estate. It's like everyone that I have ever heard that is wealthy has that in common. Like they've started with real estate, even celebrities.
Yeah.
So, and wholesaling is a great way to get started in real estate, as you heard on the TikTok video. So you were like, that's it. I'm done with the paint store. I'm tired of coming in during COVID, whatever. And then you started driving around Uber Eats. Were you like looking for rundown houses at the same time?
Yeah.
Right, because that's a good lead source. I know Brent Dans always says that. Go look for the rundown houses. And it was just picking up the phone was tough because you probably were scared somebody might bully you or not be happy you called them, or maybe they'd ask you a question you didn't know the answer to, right? Like we just get
Exactly.
scared when we're making a call like that for the first time. Is that right?
Yeah.
Got it. So when you found Alec on the 1,000-person call, he invited you to join him. So they had deals. Now you're just responsible for talking to the sellers, right? And selling those deals. What are some things, like the top 3 things you learned in those first 3 months? Because you said in that first 3 months, you learned everything you need to know about wholesaling that you couldn't learn on your own, right? So what were a few things that you learned?
I learned how to comp really quickly.
Got it.
So-
Comping's important.
Yeah.
Because that's the value of the house.
Comping is important, and platforms to use to comp, right? Like I was using Zillow at the time. I don't want to use that, and I wouldn't recommend anybody using Zillow in Texas, right? So comping, I learned that it's not about the house; it's about the motivation and what problem you can solve. Because anybody want to sell their house, right? But there has to be a problem for you to solve, and that's where the money's at. So motivation was a huge thing, and
I wanted to dive in. What was the first thing you had said?
Comping.
comping.
Comping. Okay, so give us a little bit more on comping. What are some tips that you can give people that are trying to pull comp on a property?
Yeah. So I make sure that it's a popular area, or I don't want to say popular, but that you have enough data to supply to your buyers when you're trying to sell it. So at least 2 comps,
Right.
ideally more than that, but at least 2 comps of properties that match your house. Obviously the same year, within 500 square feet, within the same year. Because you could get a really nice deal really cheap, but then you don't have any comps. What do
Right.
you tell your buyer? How are you going to make money?
Mm-hmm.
So that...
It is
that was-
possible for a house to be worth nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
So for the comping, that was the biggest part, like having enough data, how far to go, what to avoid, how to use some of the things, like being on a major road, negotiate price down for that. You know, close to a commercial areas and stuff like that. So I could use some of those little things to negotiate with sellers, which will help me also with the buyer, right? Because the buyer might come back and tell me, hey, or it has an extra bathroom. How much are you going to take a cut for or something like that, you know? So those little things about ARV.
After repair value.
After repair value.
So, all right, you learned how to comp the deals, and then I'm curious, are you, and you're still doing dispositions, but I know you guys also did a flip of your own, right? So in a way, you followed the same path of like wholesaling as a gateway to doing bigger projects. How many flips have you done?
So far, about 4.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. How do you decide if a deal is one that you should flip or you should just go ahead and sell it to someone else?
Good question.
So because I don't have the best experience on the flipping side, like you said, wholesaling is a venue to so many other options that are in the real estate industry. There has to be enough spread. And for me, it has to be something that I don't have to change the layout, possibly just cosmetic, something that's going to take me less than 45 days. If there's something major, I need to take down walls, pull permits, I probably want to stay away from that. But it's because it's based on my experience, right?
What would you say is a good spread on a flip?
Like an amount? For me, maybe like 50. I know some flippers that do volume. They're okay with 25, 20.
Right.
I
If you're doing
wouldn't.
4 a year, 50s, I would agree. That's where we would target. I've always tried. I've bought like 4 properties with the intent of flipping, run the numbers, do the process, get it done, and it's like the week before listing it, I'm like, I'm gonna keep it because I get it, like for wholesalers, you're getting the deal at such a good price that it's like I'm gonna make a lot of money keeping it. But then the market shifted. And then everything is a little bit tighter. Now when you're running numbers, a lot of times for us, it's like I could, in 3 weeks, I could get this thing done and ready to go on the market and make 40. And so to me, it's like everything shifts, perspective shifts depending on what's happening around you, and having the ability to analyze quickly, like what makes more sense on this deal is a very important key.
So you're saying you need a big spread in order to take the risk of flipping, and it's more risky because you hold the property for like a period of time during which the market could shift.
Right. If
So
you're
it's
making
got to have a bigger reward
flip,
for a bigger risk.
yeah, I mean, like if it were like, okay, I'm going to do all this and then I'm going to sell it, and after all the expenses, holding costs, commission, all of that, I'm going to make 10,000. It's not worth it. You'd be better off to just keep it at that point and let it pay down for a few years. But if you're running your numbers and you're like, after I'm done with this, I can make 40 or 50, and it took me 30 days. That's great. Like if you can make $40,000 or $50,000 in 30 days in flipping a house, go for it.
Right. So at Keegley, I know there's been at least one person who's working on their first wholesale deal. They had a deal, didn't get it under contract yet, but wanted to know if it was well priced, and I've sent them to you guys. Camille is her name. So I know, is that how you typically work with new wholesalers, or do you wait until they have it under contract and then just go sell it?
Not at all. So we prefer if it's not under contract, because when you're a wholesaler, typically you might lock up something really high. So I want to be a resource for our wholesalers that are new, and I've helped multiple new wholesalers get their first deal, and they've done multiple deals with me now. But I am a resource that can help you, educate yourself in what to tell the sellers, where the numbers need to be at, pretty much the whole process. So, run comps. I'm licensed too, so I have access to the MLS, so I can provide true comps and rehab numbers, all of that. Like basically, I just want you to talk to the seller. I'll help you with everything else. And we usually work with the wholesaler however they want, depending on their experience. We share profits, or we buy it from them to flip it ourselves. But that's one of our main source of deals, actually, new wholesalers that don't know where to start and need that like push.
Yeah.
Right. But they need to come to you when they've got somebody that's called back from a mailer or has said, yes, I do want to sell and I need to sell for this reason. Right. Like they need to be at that stage before they reach out to you.
Right.
And they would reach out to you where, on your website or on Instagram, or where would they reach out?
They can email me or text
your
me on
email?
social media. My email is paola@keygleetx.com.
Paola at KEYGLEETX.
CTX.
Oh, CTX,
Yeah.
centraltexas.com.
Yeah.
Cool.
And actually, it's better to reach out through phone. So I'm okay sharing my business line.
Yeah.
So I'm always at
Yeah,
that.
go ahead.
So it's 512-489-9446.
So
Got
if
it.
you've got a deal, you don't have it signed, and you want some help, call that number
Exactly.
before you get it signed,
Yeah.
because she can help you get it locked up for the right price, which is going to in turn help you get it sold, right?
Right.
So, bam.
Who's like the typical person? Sometimes it's hard to imagine, like, well, who would buy this property? Like, what's the average person who buys deals from you guys?
Mostly
What
flippers.
are they like?
Mostly flippers.
Yeah.
Hedge funds.
Uh-huh.
So landlords.
Are hedge funds still buying
Yeah.
as aggressive as they were like 2 years ago?
There's one in downtown Austin in the Owl building. Well, you know that one?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I think it might be Wedgwood. One
Yeah.
of their offices is
They
here.
sound familiar. No, they're definitely not buying as much, and they're more picky. And they tend to take a little bit longer than other flippers that are more aggressive.
Right,
But they might be able to pay more sometimes, but they have a process.
right.
And sometimes we're on a timeline as a wholesaler. We might only
So
have
if
7
it's
days.
early in the deal, you usually approach your. But if you need it quick,
Yeah.
hedge fund's not going to be the way to go.
Yeah. So we work with a lot of developers too in Austin that do new builds. So we have a large network for that as well. We have some large tract land buyers. We're always networking. So if you're looking for something, I'm always like,
You
hey,
love
let me know.
networking, though, right? That's like your number one favorite thing to
I
do.
know. Can't help it.
How do you network? What does that mean?
So connecting with people that are in the same industry, and you can pretty much, if you don't know anybody in real estate and you want to learn about real estate, you can go to Facebook groups, you can go to Meetup, Eventbrite, and see what's going on in your town, city.
Mm-hmm.
And
So you go to all those events.
I go to all
Yeah.
of those events.
Which is great for you, because then you meet a lot of people who are brand new that need help, right? And you're there. You could say, let me know. Give them your phone number. And then
Yeah.
they call you and they have a deal.
Yeah, and I will tell you, there's a lot of value. I've gone to networking events not wanting to go, and super sad because it's my favorite thing to do. But maybe I have a deal in hand, and I met a buyer, and I made $10K because I sold it to that person from that night. So
Like a flipper who came to that event that was looking for a deal. And usually at those events at the end, they'll be like, all right, does anyone have any deals they want to mention, right? So you kind of stand up and you're like, this is my deal. Is that how it works?
some of them, yeah.
Okay.
If there's a presentation, but there's also the just networking, kind of like speed dating. You go around.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
tell you right now that if I were to ever get a deal, I'm not going to go to a networking event to meet somebody to sell it. I'm just going to call you
Right.
because you're going to do that.
Yeah. I got you covered.
Love it. What's your favorite thing about doing wholesale real estate now that you've been doing it for how many years now?
I think about 4.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like how fast paced it is. You're always meeting people that are doing really great things. You're helping sellers. A lot of the times you don't realize that we're helping people that are in a really bad situation and they feel like they've released their problems and we were part of that. And it's always changing, you know. I've always been very fast paced, not very patient person, so I love that. It's always like you're doing multiple things at a time.
Yeah.
I would like to go into some of the reasons why people do choose to sell to a wholesaler rather than with a realtor. Because sometimes people say like, oh, you guys are going around the realtor, and it's like not that way at all. First of all, you're licensed, but you're helping in a different way, right?
Yeah.
So can you talk about some of the reasons why somebody would want to sell to a wholesaler?
Yeah. So some people don't like having people coming to their house any minute and doing multiple walkthroughs. They don't feel comfortable with that. They like their privacy, so they will prefer to do that. Maybe they inherited the property. They want to get done with it. They don't really want to go through the process. Some people that are going through divorce prefer to go that route too. Listing with an agent is also costly, right? It's not free. You have to pay for that. So I personally don't think it's always the best scenario. But I can't think about other reasons why.
How much is it, like a lot of the houses that I've done deals on and bought myself, they would never have been able to qualify for a loan.
Right.
So if they were to sell it with an agent, the agent would have like a much limited buyer pool because none of the retail people that would normally buy from listed properties could qualify to buy the property.
Exactly. Yeah, that's another reason too. So there are some houses that might not qualify for that FHA conventional because
If
it's
it has
so
a
run
giant
down.
hole in
Yeah.
the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just a better route because we're paying for closing costs where you don't have to worry about what's left in the house. You're ready to let it go. Maybe you've never lived in the house. You don't know anything about it. So we're just a better option in that case as well.
Got it. So, all right, you guys know how to get a hold of Paola, but there's one more tip we wanted to leave you guys with. So, Paola actually went to school in Guatemala, right?
Yeah.
When did you move to the U.S.?
In 2015 or 14.
Gotcha. And you told me this beautiful story about how you used to bully the bullies in high school. And everybody here gets bullied, I think, at some point in their life. And I wanted you to share what you meant by that.
I think bully is a very strong word for that scenario, but my high school and middle school was great in Guatemala, so we don't really experience that as much as I know it's experienced in the U.S. Right? Because a lot of us tend to go to private schools, so if there's a bad person or somebody that's not acting right, they get kicked right away. But
Like kicked out.
Yeah. So the bad
kicked.
apples
Kicked or kicked out?
kicked.
Oh, literally physically kicked.
No, like you get kicked out of the school,
Okay,
right?
okay.
If there's a bad apple or someone that's making a lot of trouble or something, you get kicked out of the school. But it was very beautiful, but there's a lot of teasing and going around. So in high school, if someone was being bullied, I would bully the bullies. So I would defend them, get on the way, make sure that they were not being bothered and stuff like that. But it wasn't really that intense.
Well, let me just say two great things about today. You're able to help a lot of wholesalers that need help getting through the process of they've got a hot lead, they need help with it. But also, if you have somebody picking on you and you're local and you need somebody to pick on the person picking on you, now you know who to call.
That too.
So,
That's right.
Either way.
Cool. Yay.
Yeah. And even if you don't have a hot lead and you don't know how to start wholesaling, I'm more than happy to jump in a call and tell you how I started and how you can start, give you ideas, and guide you through the process. So either way.
Awesome.
Thanks for sharing today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.